Hello, I'm Claire of Grief Conversations with Claire, a bereaved sibling to my sister Lisa, bereaved granddaughter to my nan and granddad, and doggy mum to Maggie. I am here talking to you today with the last episode in the Types of Grief series around secondary losses. No baking today, I've just got the trusty hot chocolate going on for me. As with all of these types of griefs that I've been talking to you about, we're all going to experience multiple ones in each type, and that's very, very normal. If you follow my Instagram channel, which is Grief Conversations with Claire, you'll see I put up post-it notes every week around everything is normal in grief, and then a statement about something that is normal. I post them here as well as shorts on YouTube, because everything is normal in grief, and we need to normalize talking about it and understanding it and all the things that just normalize something. And that's one of the reasons why I did this series, is to be able to start conversations and get more language out there for us and more understanding of what's going on for each of us in our own individual grief. As I've said always, this is not a competition. All our own worst losses are our own worst loss. It is around how big was the love as to how big and deep is the grief, is really what it comes down to. As I mentioned, we're talking about secondary losses, and as always I have my trusty notes with me because there's so many things that are so important that I want to make sure I have them and I cover them for you. So secondary losses are the losses that occur because of the original loss. If you've got a partner loss of your spouse or partner, then you could have a loss in your friendship circle as well, of all your friends that were your coupley friends and the friends that you did partner things with. Of, let's say you did, pickleball's kind of big right now. Let's say you played doubles pickleball, and now you don't have your partner to be able to play doubles at pickleball, and how much that might change there. And in so many other different aspects, people don't invite you to things because they're uncomfortable, thinking you'll be uncomfortable when you're just super sad to be now left out totally, and that you would hope that the only reason you weren't there is because you were one of a couple. That one's really, really hard, and that goes across all spectrums, whether it's, for me, sibling loss, pet loss as well, that am I no longer invited to doggy play dates or something because I now no longer have Maggie with me. It goes across all things. I'm just using examples that are specific to myself. There can be loss of financial stability, and that can realm in a number of things. You could need to move out of the home that you were living in for any number of the reasons that could cross that, from it wasn't your home and maybe it was a second partnership for you or something, and that house is now deeded to that person's children or something. It needs to be sold and you need to leave. Again, just one of the examples. If you reside in a country like the US, which has medical coverage that is a very, very different system to England, you could lose medical coverage, and that is a whole different stability as well there for you. I've heard of things with divorce, of your parents pass away, or someone significant in your life passes away, and your partner can't handle it, and they now divorce you or leave you, and so now that's a secondary loss and an entire loss of its own, of a living loss, but it's come on the back heels of that death that occurred. It could also occur from unwanted freedom. Your person passed away. Maybe there was a lot of end of life support that was needed. That's not needed anymore. And now you've got all this time on your hands and ability to leave the house. Maybe you couldn't have left the house at all, or you were going to visit them every single day in a hospital. Now you don't have that structure that needs to be held to. There could also be the aspects of now that freedom is just strange. You might have been in a structure of a relationship where you couldn't leave the house. You weren't allowed to leave the house without them. Now you can, and how do you do that? These are all types of secondary losses. For me, I loved coming home to Maggie at night. It was just such a delightful time. And then when I didn't need to come home to her, and I never saw it as a tie. Some people talk about having pets or dogs or any type of animal as a tie. I never saw that with Maggie. I was so delighted to have her in my life and always wanted to go home to her. And then there was no longer that piece of I could stay up for an entire day and not even consider it. And that was really, really tough to have that unwanted freedom that way around. For me, with my sister, I lost my partner in crime. Older sibling, it's not like I'm 5 or 10 or 15, which is very different when they live in the family house with you. But my sister was my partner in crime for so many different things. We would collaborate on gifts for my mum for her birthday, for Mother's Day, for Christmas or any other occasion. And we collaborated, pooled our money, and we generally expanded on each other's ideas. And it was such an amazing thing to do. And I don't have that anymore there with her. And there's so many other things with Lisa as well. And one of the other ones is a super long, far off plan of we were going to wreak havoc in some poor care home, that we were going to be there as like the two little naughty siblings together in the residential care home. That is never going to happen. And whilst that is a long way off for me, that is something that I grieve for now, and I will grieve for down the road when whatever my life looks like at that age, it's not the life I thought I was going to have with my sister. There's things like Lisa will not meet any new people that come into my life, and they will not meet her, which is a whole secondary loss. That anyone that has passed, anyone new that comes into your life will now never get to meet them in their physical being. We can absolutely, as the guardians and protectors of their existence having occurred, we can talk about them, we can show pictures, and we can do all the things like that. But no one that comes into my life is getting hugged by my sister, because that can't happen. And that's really, really sad. There is components of however you divided, I'll say household jobs or anything within any of your relationships. So if in your personal, say, partnership, you had someone got the inside of the house and someone else got the outside of the house, whichever person is no longer here, all of those jobs are now totally foreign to you, and your person used to do them. And you have that component to take care of. And that can extend to maybe if you've had the loss of a parent, and that was the person that you always went to as your confidant when you were making decisions about things, that is now gone, and you need to find someone new to be able to do that with. There could be you are currently caring for a person in your life that has got a illness, and so some of this will be anticipatory grief that will be wrapped in there as well. And you were caring for them in the home, and there was routines and rituals that you had of, let's say, you always had a cup of tea with them in the afternoon and did a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle with them. If they have reached a point where you can no longer care for them in your home and take care of all of their needs safely, and you've had to decide, which is a very, very hard decision, to put them somewhere for someone else to care for them, you've now not got that piece of where you would spend time and connect with them over a cup of tea and a jigsaw puzzle. Now, they are still alive, and with anticipatory grief, you do not want to, as we say, attend the funeral before they have passed. You can find other rituals and routines, but there's still that one that is no longer there and will probably not happen again, because the chances of them coming back out of the medical facility into the home is very, very low. I spoke of anticipatory grief just a moment ago, and there is a piece within anticipatory grief, and this can be for however long it is, whether it's days, weeks, months, or years. You do deprioritize things. And I noticed this with my sister of like, does that really matter? My sister had a 6-year, 1-month cancer journey, and there was things that just didn't matter during that time, just did not matter, and got deprioritized. And I unfortunately had an experience quite recently that validated what we do when it comes to prioritizing things, because there's conversations I wish I had with her that I will never get to have with her. And you're like, shoot, I wish I had of. But then when you have a renewal of an experience of what it's like to either be in acute grief or anticipatory grief, and realize you deprioritize things because in that moment it didn't matter. You will have that, and you will realize that you will never get to have those conversations with them or those experiences. There's one with family dynamics where it all changes. And that can be anything from if it's young children and both parents, or it was a single parent household and one parent has passed away. And now those children have got to go and live somewhere else. And they're now also leaving the family home because it's under a very unique experience that someone would be able to come into the house and be able to have the children maintain living in their family home. But it's still a loss because it's someone else coming into the home that is not their parents. You can have structures of where there's a matriarch in the family and that matriarch passes away. And it could have been a very healthy, supportive structure. And so now who's going to take that role? It could also be on the flip side that was not a healthy and supportive structure. And you're like, okay, no one's telling all of us what to do. And there can be all of the gatherings and everything that you used to do where you were told you had to be there for those. You now don't have that going on. And it's like, oh, what would I like to do around Christmas, New Year, May Bank Holiday, July 4th, Hanukkah, any of those that are the celebrations that you celebrate. You've now got this decision around what to do. And if some of those are really, really close to the death, you're not going to know what to do. And that's okay. As I said at the top of this, everything is normal in grief, and it's very, very normal to not know what to do and just be untethered and out to sea or frozen in spot to be able to figure out what you want to do. And sometimes that's where people just carry on, because that is, whilst you don't have to make a decision, it's still a decision to just carry on, but it's one that uses less brain power. And that is when we're grieving, something that we need to do, because grief brain is a absolutely doozy of a thing, and it's real. And then there's a couple of other things I'll run through as well. We've talked about freedom, and that can be freedom in any number of different fashions. Like I mentioned, of this unwanted freedom where you don't have to come home, where you can now leave the house. And if you're in a very, very unhealthy, restrictive relationship and that person passed away, you've now got all of these options and decisions available to you that you've got no tools to be able to do that. Changing community, you might need to move, which totally changes your circle of friends, where you go food shopping, where you go to get a sandwich, maybe where you walk the dog. Any number of those things that is part of your community structure are gone. Change in identity. I will always be a sibling. I will always be the youngest sibling. But I'm now one and not two. And that's really, really strange. And I will always identify myself as a sibling. But there is a change in identity there as well. And if you were married and are now no longer married, there's a change in identity there. And also, how do you want to list yourself as? You know, whether you want to just say you're single, or whether you want to say you're divorced, or however you want to present yourself, then becomes a decision in your identity. And the identity extends into all parts of our lives. It extends into our values, because maybe there was values that were held as the household values that were not necessarily yours, but were the household values, and you've now got different values. Or how the person passed away can cause a shift in your values. It can cause a shift in your view on the world. I wear glasses. You guys won't ever see me wearing them, or maybe not for a long time. But it is almost like, you know, when you go, if you've ever been to the opticians and they put those glasses on and they kind of stick all the lenses in and take them all out, that's what someone has done to your view on the world. Those lenses are either being constantly switched in or switched out, or you've just got really, really thick ones that the world is a blur to you. or just looks different. Another analogy to that is if you've ever been to the fun fair and you've gone in, I think it's the Hall of Mirrors or something it's called, and the world just looks so, so different because of the shapes of the mirrors. That's what grief can look like, and these secondary losses can look like. There will be tense that you use, and you've probably heard me through this video, whether you've recognized it or not. There are tenses that we will speak of our person. So Lisa will always be my sister. She is my older sister. Now, she's no longer alive, and there's a point where I will be lived years older than her, but still my birth date is after hers, so she will be always my older sister. For my mum gets to talk however works for her on whether she has one child, two children, and how she speaks of that and in what tense she uses. But it's all about that. There is, I remember when my brother-in-law got considered a widow for the first time, and it was probably about 4 or 5 days after my sister had passed away, and we went to register her death. And the lady, beautiful, lovely lady, said to him, okay, as the widow, you are signing here. And that was the first time, and that was a whole new identity for him there. And he will always see himself as my sister's husband, and so will I. There's that. And then the other one, which I found really, really strange, but they were and are all losses for me, is all of the things that happen because of grief brain or something else to do with the passing of our loved one, of them having died. I broke so many things. I'm lucky I didn't break a leg or an arm, and I'm not being facetious here. I mean, walking into things was very common for me, tripping over things, all of that. I broke my sunglasses, I left the lights on in my car, so I came down to a battery that was flat. And those are not things that are normal for me. I don't tend to break my stuff, and I certainly do not leave the lights on in my car, and I think I did it 3 times. And I'd put things into place for it to not happen after the first time, and I did it another 2 more times. And there's all of those other things that happen, and then other decisions that you're making that you are now not making with that person. So I've said a lot there and listed through a number of different things, and that doesn't cover everything. As I've said through this whole series, if you feel disenfranchised, disconcerted by something I've said, or I didn't address something, or you would like me to address something, pop it in the comments below. Whether you're watching this video from when it's initially uploaded to weeks, months, years down the line, pop it below and I will come back round to it. And that will be, if I've done a video on it, I'll direct you to that video, excuse me. If I have not addressed it yet, then I will go ahead and address it in what's the most appropriate manner, whether it is messaging back to you or whether it is doing a video and then attaching the link for you to that. So be kind to yourself, go easy. You can watch these in any order. I do list episode numbers, so then you can follow them in order if you want to. I hope this has all been helpful for you. I'm going to continue making videos. I've not got another series planned like I did with this one of types of grief. I've got a lot of individual standalone videos all on grief. Sometimes I'll be in the kitchen like I am today, baking sometimes with a hot chocolate, in the warmer months probably a glass of Ribena, and sometimes I'll take you out of the kitchen as well. So take good care of yourself, be kind, and till the next time, bye.